Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on this quick briefing regarding our community. I'm speaking on behalf of Captain John Smith of the Chicago Area Protection District. I was asked to give a quick overview of our community and some topics of concern in regards to any potential offender trends and patterns within our community. It's important to take notice of the various concerns that we face in respect to any potential crimes. Knowing these facts and having awareness of where crime is or how it can possibly occur is very important. So, the 4 different areas of environmental influences we're going to focus on are poor education and resources, domestic violence within the home, unstable or unsafe housing, and an unsafe community. Poor education and resources, it's a huge thing. It leads to a lack of understanding with basic learning skills for children. There's no productive time spent within that community. There's no sports activities or positive recreational interaction. There's no charity work being done amongst the youth population. There's no structure surrounding normal school hours. There is extensive time that children can be exposed to domestic issues. There's abusive influences with or around the home, which is a learned behavior and leads to violence. This is an important factor that we need to pay attention to. A child is defenseless. They are left to the decisions of their caretakers, whomever that may be for them. It's definitely a hard circumstance for a child to be in during these times. As you can see at the slide reference that I have, this is regarding the younger generation, the youths that were arrested by the CPD, Chicago Police Department. This is from the webcast that Mayor Lightfoot did back in 2020, and it shows that from 2010 to 2019, we've had a huge decline, which is good, but it's also not good because we still have juveniles that are learning how to have a horrible learned behavior, and they are committing crime because this is all that they know. Domestic violence within the home is another problem that we see, which it's a constant issue. We definitely are trying our best to monitor these concerns, but at the same time, we've seen the pandemic has left a lot of our community without jobs. So what you have is these very angered adults are left at home where they are being abused, or they're the abuser. They cause the physical abuse, the emotional abuse, which turns into legal issues, which can turn into potential drug problems or substance abuse issues. There's also potential crime that they will commit just to get by. They could sell drugs, they could, program the younger generation to do the same thing for them, because as all adults do, we get tired and we don't want to continuously be pressured to have to make a living. And children can suffer the daily abuse where they're molded into being potential offenders. As you can see here, domestic violence within the home, we have a annual Chicago homicide rate that we got again from Mayor Lightfoot, which she so willingly gave us in a briefing that she did in 2020. And it shows that from 2003 to 2018, we've had a flux. There was a huge spike between 2013 and 18 where it did decline roughly, and we're hoping that we are on the decline, but at the same time, it's very, very difficult to imagine a homicide rate being this high and then this low again. So what we're trying to do right now, folks, is we're trying to focus on these environmental influences that can impact the reasons why we have domestic violence and why unfortunately it does occur. So one of the other factors we do have is unstable or unsafe housing that has a lot of welfare candidates that they seek shelter inside weakened structures. This could be abandoned buildings. This could be, a home that was left unattended due to bankruptcy. It could be anything that resulted from either the pandemic or just lack of responsibility with the owners of the structure. There's a lot of job loss right now that's causing homelessness, which leads to a lot of poor conditions during the changing of the seasons. So you could be in extreme heat, extreme cold. You could be in a unstable structure of a building, and this could fall into poor medical conditions. Everybody gets sick. This could lead to ongoing medical issues if somebody doesn't want to get medical treatment because they don't have insurance. You also have now potentially injured individuals that get hurt, and they do get infected from poorly structured building, bad metal. You could have rust, you could have all sorts of issues. So you also have breaking and entering in the home, where potential offenders, they violate the victims too, out of frustration, stress, what have you. There's now also more availability for drug and sex trafficking in these abandoned buildings. There could be a lot of surveillance that's not available, where it looks as though there's potential windows for harm to be done, for money to be made that's illegal. So you can see here in the slide, my next slide, in 2020, we have a quote from the Chicago ABC7. They did a chart from 2015 to 2020 that shows that the shelter rate is still pretty steady, and the street factor, that these people are still living on the streets, we're still on an increase, which is not good. And this leads to a lot of issues, as we previously stated in the previous slide, that there's just a lot of unsafe housing going on. So on to our next slide, we have, this all leads to an unsafe community, of course. The jail system's overcrowded. They are having offenders that are not being monitored. They're being released too early. And that causes desperate measures for a person to make money to find work. They can return back to the same patterns they had, that they were detained for. Many offenders, they're just not being tracked properly because the system is overloaded, and this leads to a lot of probationary issues where they are just not being watched closely enough because the manpower is not there. There's drugs that are being sold. We have addicts that are relapsing because when they are in prison or in jail, they're clean, and they come out and they are now in the world, and they are back to their old devices. So we have a quote from Mr. E. Tucker, and it shows that the court systems are overcrowded and they're forced to shut down. We also have firearm background checks that are really, really high in volume, which is kind of scary, knowing that anybody could basically get a firearm at any given notice. So that is all we have for our presentation today. The references that I have are listed at the end. Again, we believe that knowledge is power here in the city of Chicago, and we hope that you maintain Neighborhood Watch just like we're trying to do for you. Just look out for the main issues that are causing our environmental influences to be back on the rise, or whether they're declining or they're rising. Neither here nor there. We have trends and we have patterns to look out for. So we hope that this gives you a little bit of comfort in knowing that we are watching and we are trying to be as proactive as we can. This is Teresa Nickel with the Purdue University Global CJ 200 Fundamentals of Psychological Profiling with Dr. Marcella Anderson being the professor, and I wish you a good day. Thank you.